So, from Whispers from Eternity, this is number 209. So, from Whispers from Eternity, this is number 209. Divine Mother, I lay all the flowers of my love at thy feet of eternity. O open wide the flowers of my budding devotion, and release thy fragrance, that it may spread from my souls to the souls of others, ever whispering of thee. I pray to behold my love reflected in others. In the light of that greater love, may I behold thine unveiled face of perfect compassion. May I behold my true self in others, that I perceive thee ever enthroned in our united hearts. At the heart of my whispered prayers I feel stirring thy silent whispers. In the light of my burning candle of devotion, I behold at last thy sacred blaze of perfect love. O Divine Mother, unite our hearts as one heart, so that on the sacred altar of united hearts we may find thine omnipresence enthroned forever. Om. Amen. Such a beautiful poem. And such a beautiful reading this week. Very recently, actually just last week, I was talking with someone, and he said to me, how can we be in God's presence when I can't even imagine what it means to unite with God or draw close to God or feel the light in and around me. Those things feel so distant from me, so I don't know what to do. How do you achieve this desire to keep moving to something you don't even understand in many ways? And my response to this person, first of all, was we have to do what we can do. Wherever we are, there is a way for us to draw close to God. It may not be, you read the lives of saints, and they are talking to God and walking with God and seeing God, sitting on their bed in the story of St. Catherine of Siena. And so it feels like, when is that ever going to happen to me? Is that ever going to happen to me? But in this beautiful reading, we are told that the nature of our faith, however strong it is, so I don't believe, this person was saying, that Christ or God will ever come and sit on my bed and talk to me, at least where I am now. What do you believe? What can you find in your life that allows you to feel God's presence? If it's reading a favorite Whispers from Eternity or a poem or looking at a picture of Master, if it's in meditation feeling a little peace, this is as important as having God sitting on your bed talking to you, because it's your next step. And that next step leads you to the next step, and the next one, and the next one. In this beautiful, beautiful quote from the Bhagavad Gita, we are shown the steps that we take. And each step, Krishna says, if you can't do that, do this. If you can't do that, do this. If you can't do that, do this. There is no point where you can't do something, and you're always moving closer to God if you believe that. And Swamiji says in the reading, it's your faith that is the magnet. Don't lose faith because you're not at the end of the journey. You're on the road to the end of the journey. Enjoy that journey. Enjoy the road. Be what you can't. I was going to say be where you are. We can't do anything else but be where we are. But we must not lose heart thinking we're way behind. Because here Krishna is saying, give me that. Give me your failure. What an incredible statement. Because you're still relating to me, Krishna is saying, God is saying. When we do that, you're still relating to me. I'm still a part of your life. That is movement toward me. And it's so important for us to understand this. I actually was, because we'd had this conversation, me and this young man, this past week, and I copied out this quote and sent it to him, because we can't forget this. God is with us every step of the way, no matter how distant we are, no matter how close. Master always says throughout his teachings, God doesn't play favorites. He doesn't have favorites. We think his saints are his favorites. No, every soul is as important and a favorite, if we have to use that word, of God's. No soul is greater or smaller in God's eyes. And in fact, it's really the truth to say that the ones furthest away are the ones that God is paying most attention to, because they need him the most. And we look at our world today and what's going on for us, and we see how much what we're doing here now, streaming to wherever you are in the world, wherever you can be, is so key to this concept of a family united in seeking God. You know, what helps us to feel close to God? Community, satsang, this together. There's support, there is love, there is care, there's concern, and we're sharing that. And it helps everyone. It helps the individual, it helps everyone. And we mustn't ever forget that God already knows what's going on with us. Krishna telling us in this beautiful statement from the Gita, I know you can't do that, then do this. And if you can't do that, then do this. So incredibly powerful for us. We have to remember, God is with us on the journey. God isn't at the end of the journey waiting for us to get there. God is with us every moment if we allow him to be. Give it to me. Cling to me. Even in your failure, give it to me. Swamiji took out of his interpretations of the Bhagavad Gita, he took and made a little book that was excerpts from that bigger book, because it's a very big book. And in that book, his way of translating this section that we heard today, he says at the end of it, he doesn't say, give me your failures. He says, give me, this is Swamiji, give me your intention. So even if we haven't tried yet to fail or succeed, give me the impulse of your faith. Do you see how subtle and beautiful that is? All of it, give it to me. Include me as you live your life, as you fall down, as you blow it, as you make a mess of it. Give it to me. And this is Master again saying, every night at the end of the day, go through your day and look at what you blew, look at your failings, and look at your strengths. One and the same in God's eyes. And give it to me. Give it back to me. It came from me, it goes back to me. It's not yours. Even your failings, it's not yours. You wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for God in our lives. In finding happiness, before I say that, God, what I wanted to say as the last thought on what I just was saying, is that God holds the bar very, very high and repeatedly raises the bar higher so that we grow spiritually, and so we are closer to the end of the journey, or high, as the case may be here. And God raises the bar more. There's still further to go. There's more to do, more and better, as Gyanamata said. So there's always more to do. But we're doing it with God. So we have the power, the strength, the support of community and satsang. We have it all. We have 5 avatars, for heaven's sake. How can we feel that we're failing? Ever. It's impossible. You can't fail. You can feel discouraged, you can feel depressed, but you can't fail. And discouragement and depression means you're not thinking of God. Give those to God too. Give them to me. It's a direct order from Krishna. It's a direct, and Christ. Come to me, all that labor and are heavy laden. I will give you rest. It's promised over and over and over again. Why do we not believe it? Why do we think it's not true? I'm unworthy. There's too much. I've got to be even-minded and cheerful. I've got to have self-control. I have to practice the presence of God. I have to meditate every day. Oh my God. You know, it feels never-ending. And it is never-ending. But if we think we're doing it alone, yes, we'll be exhausted and down on ourselves. But if we do it with God, you're doing the best you can. We're all doing the best we can. Include God in all of it. There isn't a part of it that God isn't aware of and with you in. It's constant. In finding happiness, at the end of the story, this is the story of Ananda, and the young woman that has gone to Ananda to find her spiritual life is talking with Swamiji, Swami Kriyananda, and she says to him, what can I do out in the world, in my life? I'm not in a community, I'm not with you all. And he says, find people that are like-minded, get together with others, buy land together, pool your money, go and buy land in the country. If you can't go and live there, go there on the weekend with everyone. That satsang, that community, that support will sustain your spiritual journey. And again, here we are. We're doing it more and more. You know, it's so true that Master said all obstacles can become opportunities. And one of the great opportunities that has come out of this, what's happening globally right now, is this. Doing this more. I mean, we do stream the Sunday service every weekend. However, we are doing so much more. Every day, every other day, I'm doing, and not just me, many of us are doing some kind of satsang or meditation or class or something. And it's a beautiful, beautiful way for us to connect with you, to share, to stay connected, to stay supportive of each other's spiritual life. So the opportunity of this circumstance that the world is in right now, at least for us, has been this beautiful upgrade of our online programs, and it's not going to go away. Now that we've started it, it's surely going to continue, even when things go back to normal, quote unquote. So finding, even in a crisis that the world is in, and you're all out there in that world, we still, it doesn't matter whether we're in a crisis or we're not. Truth is truth. The spiritual life is the spiritual life. It continues even through a crisis. It has to. And it has to get stronger because of the crisis. But every day we should be practicing these things, not just in a crisis. The crisis just heightens how much we need to do it and how much it helps us to live what we have to live, whatever that is. So go back to the basics. Satsang, here we are. Sadhana, here we are. Service to each other. These are the basics of Master's teachings, and the basics help us in everything. What is your energy doing? If you look at the world situation, do you get frightened? Do you get depressed? Or do you think, okay, let's pray about this. Let me raise my energy. Let me raise my consciousness. Because this, again, I say, is what we need to be doing as devotees all the time. It's just, again, heightened by this situation. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a very positive thing because it's reminding us to be more of what we know we can be from this beautiful reading today and all the teachings that we have. That you're a soul. You're a warrior of the light. You are a child of God, as we'll be saying in the Festival of Light in a few moments. And your birthright is the power of God, the presence of God, the energy, the healing, the joy, the grace of God's presence in your life. It's all happening whether or not we feel it. I hope that's clear. What I mean by that is nothing can happen, Master said, without God's grace. Nothing. The universe would implode if God's presence was withdrawn. The fact of God is what sustains the universe, and by extension, us individually. Each life is sustained by the presence and power of God. It's already happening. All spiritual teaching is designed to get us to understand it and realize that. Understand it, which means intellectually. Realize it is to know it in heart, mind, soul, and strength, in every fiber of your being. That's a process. That's a journey. And we're on that journey together. So the power of God, the grace of God, is continuous, flowing to us always, sustaining us always. The fact that we wake up every morning to do what we have to do is sustained by the grace of God. And we think we're distant from God. We think God is really, really far away down, the end of the journey. God is present now, as Master said, closer than your thoughts, just behind your thoughts. He's as close as he will ever be. We have to improve our knowing of that truth. But again, it's so hard to stand where we are and grok, realize. I'm trying grok, a stranger in a strange land. You know the book. To realize it in every fiber of our being, but it doesn't change the fact, because we don't, that it's the truth. God is as much with us now as he will ever be, Master said. We have to improve our knowing. And that's what faith is all about. Have faith in yourself. Why? Because God is within you and around you. He's a part of everyone and everything. You think of I've been watching, because it's Easter, I've been watching a beautiful series of videos about the life of Christ. And you watch the disciples. I haven't seen much of it. I've only seen a little. But when the disciples are new, when Christ is calling the disciples to him, he is, he says something, I can't remember. And Simon Peter says, not to Christ, he says it to one of the other disciples later, because they were asking, what did he say to you? And he told him what he said. You're a fisherman. I am going to make you a fisher of men. And he looked at his friend and he said, I don't even know what that means. That's how we are. I don't even know what that means, that God is present, that the light is always with me, that I have to think of God as whatever he is, or I have to feel God in this omnipresent. It is overwhelming. Don't worry about it. Peter's trying to understand something that he hasn't figured out yet. When he first hears it, I don't even know what that means. But if you live your life and you begin to understand, and spiritual truth begins to sink in, and we make the effort to have self-control, to be even-minded and cheerful, to practice the presence of God. Imperfectly, it doesn't matter. We make the effort, the intention, as Swamiji said. The intention is there. That is a movement toward God. And each time we do that, faith gets more magnetic. The more magnetic our faith, the closer God comes. The power of God is within you. You can do anything. Anything is possible. Don't allow the darkness to pull you down. I had a friend who he said every time I would read, God is within you. Well, I don't know where he is. He'd read some beautiful spiritual statement, and then his mind would, meditate as much as you can. Yeah, I meditate, but I don't know what's happening. Every single thing he read, his mind would do this little, yeah, right, yeah, right, yeah, right. It's so important. And I said that to the friend. You don't do that. Don't allow yourself to do that, because that undoes your faith. All of those statements are already true. Again, it's so esoteric. God, meditate as much as you can, and you meditate and nothing happens. Every time you try, your faith is being built. Every time you try not to put down a spiritual truth. Oh, I know. One of the things he said is, when I chant, Lord, I am thine, or I want only thee, his mind would say, yeah, and you want a whole lot of other things too. Yes, but you also want God. You do want God. You wouldn't be living here if you didn't want God. So give weight to the faithful part of you. Don't give weight to the cynical, skeptical, doubting part. It doesn't help you. Yes, of course you want other things, and you have to take care of responsibilities and do what you have to do. But I want God also. I want only God. It's an intention again. You understand? Let those things live. Let them breathe. Let them be real for you as much as the other part of you. And especially don't put them down and yourself down, because you're a child of the light. You're a child of God, first and foremost. That's your origins. That's your beginnings, all of us. It is not the end. It is now. And feed that in any possible way you can. I think of, the life of Swamiji, who, great challenge constantly in his life. Always something that he's having to deal with, not small. I remember an astrologer, I was with Swami in LA, Los Angeles, many, many years ago. And we stayed with this lady who was an astrologer. And Swami said she was a very good one. He liked her. But she told me that, she said, I looked at Swami's chart, and she said this to Swami too, but he wasn't there when she said it, when this conversation was happening. She said, this person will either commit suicide or become very great. That's what she said to me. He will become great or commit suicide. That's astrology. We always have confronting us, maybe not as extreme as that, but we always have. You're either going to fail or you're going to succeed. You're either going to do it or you're not. You're either going to say yes or you're going to say no. Those things are there, and we will choose whatever we choose. But remember, what kept Swami going through all those years was his incredible faith. Davy wrote a book, Faith is My Armor, about the life of Swamiji. It's your armor against everything negative that you can imagine. It's the shield that we have that protects our soul nature, our spiritual nature, and our spiritual life, and our physical. It protects us from all of the things that Maya can do to us, all the distraction, all the challenges and difficulties that we go through. All of that is helped by our faith. Have faith in your faith. It sounds odd, but what I mean by that is, even if it's a little, it's still faith. You're still here. You're still doing what you're trying to do. And that's what counts. That's what God looks to the heart. He knows your intent. He knows what you're trying to do. And that is what is keeping you here and going. You're a child of the light, first and foremost. You're God's child. You're a master's child. And we're part of one spiritual family. We are all important to Master. We are all important to God. The other things that can, I think of, I said community and satsang, meditation, prayer, all the beautiful teachings that we have that help us. All of these things are there so that we constantly are reminding ourselves of the presence of God within us, within each other, around us. Don't lose sight of that. Keep striving more than anything else to have faith, to know that Master is with you and supporting you, to know that God loves you now, not waiting until we're perfect. Now God loves you. And never forget it. You are a child of the light. You are God's child. Never, ever forget it. God bless you all.